I think of you as a builder and as a builder of builders. And I've seen some of the transformation work you've done in the community and just throughout your life. And so I really just want to dig in and like right away, one of the first things that strikes me is that you've had a number of different lifetimes in this life.
Oh boy. Yes, I have.
Yeah. And you know, you've got this corporate badass thing under the hood that I'm like, when I first met you, I didn't know it was there, but I was like, there's something different about her. Like we're surrounded by all these yoga teachers and all these spiritual people and in this community situation. And I'm like, but she's organized. Like,
yeah.
Tell me about that. You know, like where did it all start for you? How did you kind of enter this scene that you're in now?
Yeah.
From where you came from?
So I started just in typical Southern conservative South upbringing, and really didn't know what I wanted to do but I just wanted to do whatever I did well. Like that was it. I was like, well, if this is what I'm doing, I'll do it well. And so I was just a really overachieving, wanted to get straight A's, people pleasing tendencies, work hard, do the thing. But I had this thing in me that wanted to help people. And I thought that was going to be because I just excelled in school and I really did well. I thought I was going to be a doctor. So my first semester in college was just all pre-med. And then I was like, I don't think I want to do that. I think I want to do psychology because I love learning about the mind and my own mind too, and watching just my own struggles throughout life. I was like, maybe psychology, I'm so interested. So I dove into psychology and I was like, well, maybe it's not that. Sociology. I love people. I love groups. I love how they interact and all the work. So I was like, maybe I'll do social work. So it was kind of this medical, psychological, social work lens. And then all of a sudden I just took a hard right and went into mass communications, radio, television, photography. And so that's what my degree is in, all those things, you know.
For some reason, that makes a lot of sense.
Right, exactly. Like looking back at the time, I was like, oh, what is this, you know? And so I went right into an internship at a television station in Nashville when I was still in college. And then they offered me a job. And I just, being in my 20s and being a go-getter and just wanting to figure it out and really personable and just asking questions. And I wasn't afraid to walk up to anyone. Like to me, I just wanted to know. And so I would just found myself moving up the corporate ladder because they're like, well, she stays late. She asks all the questions. You know, she can figure it out. I know how to elicit help or, you know, like what's going on. And so I just kept climbing up this corporate ladder and I was miserable, absolutely miserable.
Wow. So
like
you were successful.
Oh yeah.
But you weren't happy.
No, not even a little bit. But because I didn't feel like it was my passion, I felt like I was just going through the motions, waking up, doing the job to get a paycheck and learn and climb. And I didn't really have a lot of examples growing up in the 70s in the South, like of people stepping outside of the box of anything rather than just, you know, status quo. So I followed that and ended up working my way up through, and I was young, but I was also very driven and hungry for knowledge. So I just kept climbing and climbing. And I ended up moving to a different company that had a whole network operations. It was here in Nashville and it was way ahead of its time. It was in the early 90s. And right at that same time that I moved to that company, I started yoga. And so I was moving up, you know, into this industry that was just, I mean, robotic cameras. They had a C-band and KU, uplink, downlink. In the 90s here and off Dickerson Pike.
Wow.
And they had 4 sound stages. We did jumbotrons for the Titans. We did, I mean, all kinds of technical, we had storage silos with terabyte storage. We were digitizing old formats into digital when it was all very new.
Yeah.
So we were ahead of our time and it was really hard to even convey to people what we did. But I was there in that learning with people. Like, so I just kept moving up. And now all of a sudden I'm in charge of like 7 networks. I'm a network operator.
Wow.
And then, and so
I love how you're laughing about it now.
You're looking at it. It's just so strange because I did it and I did it well. Yeah. And I managed all these people and I ended up like, the person who hired me, I ended up working my way up and becoming her boss. Like, it was just, I don't even know.
How does she feel about that?
Well, she got over. I mean, she
I'm
saw.
sure you're a good boss. I mean, you seem like
I was. That was the thing that I did love about it, is that I loved people, and I loved training people, and I loved empowering people, and I gave a lot of opportunities to people that maybe not necessarily, because what my pitch was like, it's great to bring in someone with all this experience. However, this is new technology. I'd rather train someone brand new and green, because then I can train them the way I want. So I got to really launch a lot of people into their careers and things like that, because moving up, you can imagine a woman in her early 20s, and then people that had been in television for 20, 30, 40 years.
Well, that's not how we've always done it, is it?
No. That's why it was so difficult for me, because, in a company of, let's say, 200 people, it was maybe an eighth were women. And so just for me to be kind of moving up that ladder, and people are like, what is happening? And of course the stigma that would go with that, and the judgments and the perceptions of a woman moving up, she must be sleeping her way to the top.
Right.
It couldn't be that she works hard and works overtime and asks questions, comes in on the weekends, stays after. Like, it couldn't be that. There's no way. It has to be that. Right. Wow. So I had to deal with that kind of objectification in corporate, but I didn't really care. I just wanted to learn and grow and do the thing. And that's how I became a satellite.
I mean, you've never been a complainer as long as I've known you.
Yeah, I don't complain.
And I think that's really interesting. Yeah, your dad wouldn't let you. Okay, I want to dig into that, because there's something really cool there.
Yeah.
But the idea that you just described a landscape that would have stopped a lot of other people, and it didn't stop you. So what is the difference?
I mean, I think just my mom and dad were very stable. They were providers. We had Sunday dinner. We went to church Sunday morning. We had Sunday dinner. My dad mowed the lawn. It was like, this day we did this. This day we had tacos. This day we had spaghetti. I mean, it was just very, we went on vacation, and we had very ritualistic, very routine, and very dependable. And my dad's, his number one rule, no one wants to hear you complain. Do something about it or zip it. That's it. There's no negotiation. And you just didn't mess with my dad. You just didn't, okay. And so I just saw how much complaining would drain me, my life force, the people around me. And I wanted to be a positive, influence for people. Even if I didn't love what I did, I wanted to bring joy to the situation and really show how I was responsible for that, which is funny that I'm now, yoga of responsibility is sort of my thing, but I couldn't articulate it that way, but I just knew that, they showed up and did their thing, and they didn't love their work, but they did it. And I never heard my dad complain about it. You just did what you need to do. 2 jobs and you build your own house. So
you watched him build your house.
Yep. I was 6 years old.
When you were 6 years old. What did that do to you?
To me, he was the most amazing man in the universe. For me, it's really not that people aren't inspiring and that I don't respect people and that I don't see the magnificence of what people create in the world. Absolutely. People do astonishing things. But it's really hard for me to be impressed because of the way I saw my dad show up, and just simple, nothing heroic about it, nothing grandiose about it. He was very humble and very just kind of quiet and conservative. But he did what needed to be done, and there was just no bullshit about it. Just handle it. Be a good person, do right by your family, build them a house, show up and do your work, pay the bills, support the local community. Simple. We've gotten so lost in big ideas and grandiosity that we're now fighting about things that what about the simple things? And that's what he really showed me. And when anybody says, who's your hero? My dad, always will be, always has been, because he showed me something that it took me a long time to get to the other side and see just the perfection of it. He wasn't perfect, but the perfection of the way that he lived his life in a way that was just simple and uncomplicated and not filled with conflict and drama. It was just, you do what needs to be done.
The pursuit of perfection.
Yeah.
Which we're all on.
Right. Right.
I would hope.
Yeah.
You just described 5 layers of reality that I'm very interested in one man, your father.
Yeah.
The God layer,
yep.
The civilization community layer, the work layer, which should have purpose driven into it, if your work doesn't have purpose, it's kind of just a day job.
Right. That's right.
Which I want to dig into that because I think you got a story there.
I got a few.
The family layer, which is really the foundation for everything, and the identity layer, the individual self. And I've seen you operate on all 5 of those layers. There's a time in your life when you were in the work layer, you just described kicking ass in the corporate job, but you didn't really love it.
Not at all.
And then you found yoga, or should we say yoga found you?
Yeah, I remember. I'll never forget Davis Jackson. Bless him. I was just in my living room and I dealt with back pain a lot. A whole nother story.
How many hours should we spend?
Oh my God, we've got hours, but I dealt with back pain, physical stuff. And he just said, have you ever tried yoga? And it was like my brain broke. So I looked it up in the yellow pages.
Oh, I remember the yellow pages.
Right? Remember?
I used to use that for kindling.
Yeah.
My backyard fire pits.
The closest one was 30 minutes away. And the first yoga class, so I was now in the corporate, was working my way up the ladder.
Yeah.
I was also drinking way too much in a toxic relationship, addicted to cigarettes, like miserable life.
Wow.
And I did that first yoga class. And I remember thinking, I don't know how, because my life looks so far from this. But one day I'm going to open my own yoga studio. I'm going to teach this full time. And I'm going to figure out a way to get paid to educate myself as much as I possibly can on this path. First class. And I mean, I was a hot mess, Ernest. And somehow, like just eye on the prize. But I knew I had a lot of work to do before. First, I opened a business because I was working my way up. But second, before I started teaching people yoga, like I needed to get right with me before I ever had the audacity to open a business and teach people how to get right with themselves.
I wish more people would do that first.
Right.
I feel like there's a lot of people that don't do that step.
Yeah, but it was important to me because I wanted the yoga to be the primary. I wanted the business to be just because I could, but the yoga to be the primary driving force. I wanted that. And I always said, if the business ever overrules the yoga aspect of it, I'm out. Like I will not sacrifice what I'm learning, the principles and the technology of yoga and the lifestyle piece and the, ethics of it and things like that. Like I will not sacrifice that for money or business or bottom line or anything like that. And if I do, I'll get out and go get another job and let somebody else do that.
My early exposure to yoga, and I would not call myself a practitioner, although I admire it, and maybe you could teach me. Because I would need a teacher.
Yeah, I always say I teach yoga to people who don't like yoga or think they don't.
Okay, then I'm your client.
Oh, great. Perfect.
Because, I won't get down that rabbit hole, but I'll say that my early exposure to yoga, there's a few different things where it kind of felt like a fitness class or like something that add-on at a gym. And then at one point I was at a Deepak Chopra conference meditation thing, and there was like a hot yoga experience, and the teacher thought I was cute, and like she literally just gave me, thank you, but she just gave me all the attention, and the whole class was just all these, and I was like 16 or 17, and it was like, and she was like, that's fine, whatever. I mean, I just, not, but she like physically twisted my body into all these shapes that I wasn't flexible enough to be in, and when she was at one point literally jumping on top of me to force me into some pose.
I've seen it.
But there's the moral of the story, though, is that my my stepdad, Bob Sherman, who I don't know if you ever met him, he was a psychiatrist. He was a Jewish guy from Brooklyn who became a Hindu in the 1970s and went to India and found a guru and did it like every year, would live in India. And he taught me what yoga was from his perspective, that it was way more than asana.
Yes.
You mentioned the technology of yoga. Yep. I want to hear your take. What is yoga?
Yeah, I would love to share on that. And this is what's interesting too. At the time when I was in corporate and I ended up in satellite engineering by chance, just because they were like, wow, she's a go-getter. She'll carry a pager. She'll go in at 3 a.m. And I did. And so then I learned how to do that. But the technology piece is why I would bring that up, is that we are like these little tiny satellites. And if, for example, if you put a satellite up in the sky and you don't get to the right frequency and you modulate and send out a signal, you're going to blow everyone off air.
Oh.
Oopsie. And now here we are with all this different noise and static and information coming at us and ideas and words and thoughts and frequencies but we're jammed up. Our internal system is jammed up. And why I say it's a technology, because it is for cleansing out the inner system, tuning our satellite, our inner world to the right signal before we express, because we are transmitters and receptors. But if we're on a channel that everyone else is on, then we're going to hear a lot of static and a lot of noise, and there's going to be a lot of bouncing off, and there's not a clear path for the signal to get through. And so the technology of yoga is, how do we use this tool of the mind, this most powerful simulator in the world? How do we use this to focus, hold our attention on something, let all the other static or noise fall away so that we can transmit a signal that's clear, and we can also receive a signal that's meant for us as well, and it's not filtered through all the static and noise. And so then we something triggers, and then we bounce off to this idea and this, and someone says this, and it reminds us of that, and now the whole thing's static, and now we're just like, and you remember when the internet used to be called the Ethernet?
Yeah.
So the ethereal, which is beautiful, it's where spirituality lives.
Is that an accident that the name was Ethernet?
Oh, I don't think so. We're trapped in the ethers, the net of the ethers, which is all ideas and concepts and thoughts and words, and you can't see it. It's not tangible. And so now there's all this like just noise, and everyone's confused. And it's like thousands of years ago when we had this big, huge body of knowledge called the Vedas. It was the same thing. That was all the information we needed to reduce suffering. It was, whatever we needed, architecture and Ayurveda and children's hymns and mantras and rituals and yoga and all these different, and yoga as a meditation, as a technology, not as the asana that we talked about, but people were still suffering back then. And so it's the same thing now. We have all the information, we have all the technology, but people are still suffering because it's not organized. It's just a bunch of ethereal knowledge, and it's not lived wisdom. And then on the other side, there's materialism, which is, if we go too far into materialism, we see greed and people focused on the past, and people fighting and war and pollution. And we're so far down into materialism that we're digging up fossil fuels from the past to fuel the present at the expense of our future. Like, it's that dark and heavy, the gravity of it. So the balance of the ethereal and the material is where we need to start looking, is like, how do we get those to level out so that we can be inspired with information and connection and ideas, but not get caught in the grind of the material, the gravity and the war and the violence and the greed and things like that. It's like, we got to find a place. And so that's what the technology is for, is to get us clear on what's in alignment with my values, and am I acting in accordance with those? And if not, the signals are going to be cross-firing everywhere, and we're not going to get what we want because we're not clear. It's too much. It's like being in the middle. I always think of if we went four-wheeling, we used to do that when we were little, and four-wheeling, and all the mud landed on our windshield and we never cleaned it, it's going to be hard to get around town.
Yeah.
Right. But we've got to clean that filter of the mind. And that's what the yoga technology does. How do we clear the filter of the mind, and so that it can direct itself towards what we value, give all our attention to it, and then be able to see through all the chaos and the noise, and then move forward in that direction.
So Jesus said the kingdom of God is within you.
That's right.
As a yogi who grew up going to Sunday school, living in the belt buckle of the Bible Belt, what's the relationship between those worlds in your heart and in your experience?
Oh, such a good question. I love it. For me, I will say, and I'll just say it because it's the truth, I spent so many years running from God because of the way it was portrayed to me. And it felt I felt afraid of life. I felt afraid of doing something wrong. I felt afraid of being punished. I felt afraid of my thoughts and questions. I felt afraid of anything. And so I ran from God. And then when I started doing yoga and started practicing yoga and clearing all that noise, I turned right back towards God and started coming back.
Turning, that's an interesting word.
Mm-hmm.
There's ancient Greek and Hebrew words for turning, and aligned with the idea of repentance and metanoia. It sounds like you're describing something similar.
So yeah, because the technology of yoga, it says that we cannot look out. The mind is a tool of perception. And we think it's all this other, but it's a tool. And we cannot look out and in at the same time because it's a perceptive tool. It's like a camera. You can't take a picture of you and take a picture of me at the same time if I'm sitting here and you're over there. So the mind cannot, it can't look out and in.
Wow.
So
I'm with you. And I'm taking this in.
Yeah. And so
I'm taking a picture of you right now.
Right. Perfect. Right. And so the mind, it's when it's looking out, it is getting information from the external. So that's where the turning, we turn towards the internal. And that's what starts to wipe the slate clean. And the internal, so we think about the most everlasting thing in our life is ourself. Regardless of what we think about religion or spiritual beliefs, who's the one that's been there the whole time? Like nobody, and I don't know what you've been through. You and I could sit and talk for 6 years about every single thing you've ever experienced. I still wouldn't know what it was like to be you. No matter what, I could empathize, I could have an idea, but you're the only one that knows what it felt like, what you overcame, what challenges you faced, all the difficulties, the pain, the joy, the celebration. You're the one. So why wouldn't we tune into that one that's been there the whole time and give us access to whatever? And that was a big thing for me, is that I'm not here to tell people what to believe or their spirituality. And because it's different cultures and upbringings, and what I want people to do is have a better experience of their life, period. And whatever that is, but turning into the thing that is the most everlasting in this life is ourself, right? That if we're just talking this physical life, the only one that's actually been there the whole time is ourselves.
So I was an altar boy when I was in the 5th grade. And you said you wanted to be a doctor when you were a kid. I at one point thought I would be a priest. And in some ways, maybe you have become kind of a doctor in a different way. In some ways, maybe I'd become a priest, but just not the way I thought. I am married. But just the idea of, the danger that people perceive in breaking the rules of a transactional faith and the fear that they live in. What would you say to someone who thinks that yoga is a false religion? Yeah,
that's a great question. So and it's come up many years. And when I first started yoga, I didn't know how to answer it until I studied deeper and started really diving in, is that yoga is a separate philosophy from Vedanta, which Hinduism and Buddhism and Tantra all fall under Vedanta. Yoga is its own philosophy. And it basically, the underlying philosophy says, it doesn't even mention God. It just says there's two things. There's essence and there's form. And then all of form is subject to change. All of form. That's the only constant we have, is all of matter is subject to change. Then our essence is the thing that never changes. This is just the philosophy of it. It doesn't say anything about God, doesn't say what you should believe. Then yoga comes along and says, okay, so if that's the philosophy of yoga, the Sankhya philosophy, then yoga comes along and said, here's what you can do about it, the psychology of it. And it actually has tools. It gives short-term tools. It gives long-term tools. It gives like the special powers that can come from it, the freedom that comes from, the practice. But in the short-term, tools, like in the moment, right? It offers a lot of different things for different types of people, because we need different things at different times. Like a hammer is not always the right tool. Right? So that's what I love about yoga. It's tool-based, and what it does talk about when it talks about God is that is a super tool. If you have an inherent belief in God, give your attention to that, because it's like a mega tool on bringing yourself back to wholeness, because yoga is just a practice of aligning mind, body, breath, spirit, everything. And it says that's a super tool. And it gives several sutras about it, saying, chant something, not rotely, or, like just with out of habit. Do it with meaning. Do it with absolute deep reverence. And it's going to help you deepen that relationship to God. And so whatever your idea of God is, but it's not religious based. It just says, use that. Or if you struggle with that, instead of having faith in God or something outside of you, have faith in yourself. You've overcome everything that's ever come your way, which means you'll overcome everything that's ever going to come your way. So trust in that. So in other words, it doesn't take a position. Nope, it does not. And a lot of people don't know that. Well, I think that's an interesting philosophical question. For some people, they require a philosophy to take a position. Other people bring their position to the philosophy. Right, that's right. That's right.
Which
That's why I
is
call it a technology.
It's a technology.
That's right.
So that is fantastic. Okay. Now I would imagine if you walked into your corporate job in 1996 and started talking like this, people would be like,
What?
What would have happened?
No, they'd be like, that's Christy Lynn.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's a certain amount of internal personal branding within any community or group of people, which I could imagine you probably quickly became that person who became known for going deep, right?
Yeah.
But at a certain point, you made a jump.
Yes.
And you moved.
I did.
And you built an entirely new business and a community. What was that like?
Oh my gosh. It was the scariest, most rewarding thing ever. I knew that I wanted to. So that from the time I took that first yoga class in 1995 until actually opening my physical yoga studio, I taught part-time for many, many, many years. I did it old school style, 4 years with a teacher as an apprentice.
Right.
Started assisting old school before teacher trainings were even a thing.
You learn by teaching. It's like that in martial arts. It's like that in any old traditional.
Yeah, I studied with a mentor. And then, so I was doing it and I was, trying to not be a drinking, smoking, hot mess in a toxic relationship while climbing the corporate ladder.
While being enlightened.
Yeah, trying.
1 hour a day at 6 a.m. or whatever. Yeah.
I was far from enlightened and I knew it. I like run from anybody who says they're enlightened. But so it took me 10 years from the time I knew I wanted to do it until I opened my doors. But the whole time I had to reframe because I was so unhappy in the work I was doing, even though on the outside it would look like I had the ultimate success, the nice car and the nice house and the nice paycheck and then, whatever. And it just wasn't traveling and doing all the things, but it was so toxic and so filled with so I was getting sicker. I was starting to feel like physically all kinds of problems were starting to occur. And I knew that I wanted to open the studio. So I had to make peace with being there. And so I just flipped my perspective and I was like, okay, I need to see this as I'm getting paid to learn as much about my craft for the future as I can. And once I switched that, I was like, oh, I have money to go to a retreat. I have money to take a training. I have money to do workshops. I have money to do, whatever. And I started slowly building out my how I'd want to do it. And then I started teaching part-time and I was doing corporate gigs and I was going to people's houses and I was having private lessons and renting space and just slowly starting to do that. And I was like, oh, this job affords me the opportunity to rent space and I don't really care who shows up because I've got a job. So I really framed my perspective and just got good at yoga and I was getting good at business because that's what I was doing full time for my work and learning all about business. And I will say more than anything, I learned what not to do from my corporate experience.
No, what not to do from your corporate experience.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So in my corporate experience, I was learning what not to do when I went into my own business.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just was just being a researcher and finally, I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to teach full time. And then I panicked 2 months later and took another corporate job. I went through many corporate jobs. I worked for all kinds of different things. But the last one was a little more in alignment. It was the National Academy of Sports Medicine. I was a little more in line with what I wanted to be doing, but it still just wasn't my heart. And so finally, my partner at this time, he's like, do it. Just take the leap. Like, you've got this. And we lived together. He's like, I'll support you while you get on your feet. Like, I got you. And I was so grateful because he believed in me and he saw the difference I was making for people. And he encouraged me to make the leap and gave an investment to do that. And I was just like, here we go. And it was balling on a budget. I was like, all right, here we go. And opened the doors in Burbank, California. And just best, scariest thing I've ever done in my life.
During that period, what did it feel like? I mean, I'm just thinking back, like there's this really interesting, there's these key points of like you're 6 years old and you're watching your dad build the house with his hands.
With his hands.
And then you're in the corporate job and you're winning, but you don't feel good.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you discover yoga and then you have this vision. And now all of a sudden you're in Burbank, California.
That's right.
Hey, y'all.
Howdy.
I ain't from around here.
I'm sorry.
Am I?
No. Yeah, it's pretty much. But you know what? I will say this, Ernest. They freaking loved it. They loved just the Southern hospitality, the sort of rowdy, because a lot of people that I draw to yoga, like I said, are the people that don't like yoga.
I just saw a sign that said biscuits and body alignment. That's right. 7 a.m. Tuesday morning.
All are welcome, but you got to have right. Like they loved that because a lot of people that came to my studio, I was not your typical yoga studio. And that's what people loved. They came in and they were like, I didn't think I could do yoga, because I'm not fit or I'm, too old or I don't have the right outfits or, there was none of that sort of, that outer focus. We were really focused on the inner work and community and people loved it. They loved it. And I got shushed at my yoga studio as the owner all the time because I'm just rowdy, loud. People like, we're in Shavasana, come out into the lobby. But people loved that because they felt really at home and they felt they didn't have to do this false sense of spirituality or this sort of, I am holier than thou. And I am so, yeah, exactly.
I have a mantra. We're going to all say, me.
Me.
Right here.
Yeah. And it just wasn't that. And a lot of people were like, I didn't think I could do yoga, until I came here and then they would, go to other studios. They're like, I feel so at home here. And so they really loved it, and LA can be so superficial in a lot of ways.
Really? Los Angeles? Hollywood?
I know. I'm probably saying something that should be edited out because people don't know this.
Yeah, no, this is an uncensored podcast.
Okay, great. Perfect. I'm just kidding. But I was very fortunate in LA, but what they really loved, that sort of welcoming, anybody can do it. We had a very high therapeutic, like gentle population of yoga. So it wasn't all about the fitness and workouts, about moving and breathing and being able to get up and down off the floor and, help with kinks and, things in the body that are starting to change. And then it was just great, I got to introduce a lot of people to yoga. Like I did a free intro to yoga almost every month for 15 years or every other month for 15 years, just to educate people that no, you don't, it doesn't have to look like this. And here's options for you. And if a teacher says this, here's another way you can do it if it's hurting, and just tried to let people know that it's not about this form-based practice where everyone's so completely focused and chill and perfect bodies. And no, we're being humans and it's a technology that helps us to human better and to feel better on the journey.
A technology that helps us to human better.
That's right.
That's great. Did you just come up with that?
Well, it's kind of, that's what I teach it as.
Can I hire you to do some marketing work? That's good.
Perfect, great.
ChatGPT can't come up with stuff that
Right.
good. I'm sorry.
You got to be raised in the South for that one.
Wow. Well, so you're describing this amazing light that you've brought into the world. I've had moments in my life where everything clicked and it lasted for a little while. And it maybe even was earned through sacrifices, through upgrades, through taking out the trash that happened in earlier periods.
Mm-hmm.
But like the Temple of Jerusalem, one day an army shows up and tears it down.
Mm-hmm.
And then with a sword in one hand and a shovel in the other hand, you're rebuilding it.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Oof. Yeah. So I built this dream. It was everything I ever wanted. I got to travel the world and certify hundreds of people, teach thousands of people. I got to educate myself, study with some of the greatest people.
Mm-hmm.
It did what I wanted it to. It funded my entire education. I want to learn more and more and more. And my business supported that. And
it happened.
Everything about it was perfect.
Your vision happened.
Yeah. It literally better than I could have imagined. It was beyond and so 15 years we celebrated. 15 years, we had a big old anniversary party, and that was March of 2020. March 4th. 15 years.
I remember what I was doing in March of 2020.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing it for very much longer.
Yeah, no. Yep, that's it. And so days after we celebrated our big, huge anniversary of 15 years, this whole community, I had people that had been working with me. I had at least over 10 people that had been with me over a decade.
A decade of their lives.
Yes.
Working with you.
And some of them had been there 15 years, the whole time.
And their families are
Everything
along for the journey.
Everybody, babies were born there, you know, baby mommy and me, and people, I mean, everything. We grew up together. So when it closed down, it shattered me. It shattered me. I and the whole community, and the world was falling apart. So like our little pocket was, you know, small compared to what was happening overall in the world. But I had that was one of the biggest ego death identity crisis, losing, just crawling or falling down into this deep, dark hole of confusion for the world, for my own life. Who am I without? And I didn't realize. So one of the reasons in the yoga, you know, there's the Yoga Sutras, like the handbook for yoga, but one of the reasons we suffer is over-identification with form. And boy, did I have to look at. So here's the thing.
That thing you talked about earlier that changes.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And here I was. I know all this stuff. I have all this wisdom, and I am drowning in sorrow and grief. And like, it was terrible. And it was even worse. And I was like, I actually did not think that I could go back, revert emotionally to a place before I discovered yoga.
Oh, like now I got to go back and get a job somewhere.
Oh,
or something,
just even who I was, and just the confusion of the world. And I didn't think I could go back to my 20s before I started yoga, and I did for years. I just was in this, and I felt like the myth of Sisyphus. I would get some energy and
I see. Okay.
Motivation to rise again, and then I would crash and burn. And I was just looped into this cycle of grief and depression and anxiety and addiction for a couple of years after COVID. It was hard. And what I knew, so Elevation Central, the place in Mount Juliet, I got the name for it. I was dissolving Yoga Blend. I was like, I'm trying to get it all done, all the people and all the paperwork and everything I had to do to dissolve 15 years of a business, while starting to slowly grind towards another one, because I was like, I'm not stable enough to teach in the way that I've been teaching and training. But what I know I can do more than anything is I can build a house. And that was Elevation Central. I can build a community, because that's part of my genetics. That's part of what I witnessed my dad and my mom do. Like, that was part of so I was like, okay, I'm going to take a break from teaching, because I honestly, and I was annoyed at everything everybody was saying. I didn't want to listen to anybody in 2020. I thought everybody gone batshit crazy.
It was such a mess.
I was like, everybody.
I don't care what fake side of whatever you were on for that.
It doesn't matter.
It
doesn't matter. It was a
complete in all directions.
I was just like, hug the midline. Do not get caught in the extremes. Just like, and just watching that and going, what am I going to do? I can't go back to a job. Like, I've been in business for myself for 15 years. There's no way. I'm not ready to teach on that level, because I need to take care of me. I'm broken right now. Like, I felt broken. Like, and I've got to teach me. Like, I've got to lead myself. That's that's a big part of my work, is self-responsibility and personal leadership and all of that. I got to fix me. But what I can do is build a community, and I can do that, and I can do that. And it will heal me in the process, because I know surrounding myself with people and doing something that's so natural to me that it literally is like brushing my teeth, is to hold space for community. So that's where Elevation Central and I slowly just started doing events and building community. And then I knew eventually I'd start wanting to teach again in a bigger way.
But you're talking about being in Burbank and things are shut down.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got back here at some point.
Yep.
And then rebuilt in the home your father built with his hands.
Yep.
Full circle.
Full circle.
Was he able to witness any of that?
No, none of it. Not even my son being born. So that was like devastating to my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're living something he started.
That's right.
In a beautiful way.
Yeah.
We met there first. We met at Vibe Lounge.
Yep.
I think.
Was that when? I feel like I've known you for longer than that, but
probably.
Maybe it was something before that.
I'm from Nashville.
Yeah.
So when you were going through your early experiences, I was a teenager and I was, going to all the healers and hanging out at Magical Journey and, Cafe Coco.
Oh yeah, totally.
So I'm sure we've run into each other.
Yeah.
I just
been at all of those places.
one thing that really hits me with all of this, I've got similar stories of everything falling apart, coming back together, overcoming addictions, compulsive behaviors, taking out my emotional, mental, and physical trash so that I can open up a clear channel to spiritual truth that comes through, without falling into deception and confusion, just like the way you describe yoga. Sounds a lot like things I've been doing. Maybe I've been doing yoga and I just call it something else.
That's right.
I don't sit in a sauna, but I could probably add that in. But I see a tsunami coming right now specifically with AI that I feel like a lot of people are going to need a model of survival and fulfillment and purpose when the rug gets pulled out from under them. And it's starting to happen. You've lived through the rug getting pulled out from under you in a major way. And you had the ability to stop yourself and go, hold on, I actually can't work on the splinters in other people's eyes now. I got a wooden beam that just hit me and I got to pull that out.
Yeah.
After 15 years of being the splinter remover.
That's right.
Which is incredibly humbling.
Yeah.
And it also makes me think, like, no matter how much anyone attains a vision that they have, or something could happen.
That's right.
To all of us.
That's right.
Run away from someone who says they're enlightened.
That's what I say.
Yeah. What would you say to somebody who is like 1995 Christy, who's coming in fresh off the boat into what we just talked about, and it hadn't happened to them yet? What can you tell them from what you've gone through?
Wow, that's such a good question.
I think we're going to get a lot of those.
Yeah. And a big part of it, unfortunately, and this is just the sad truth of it, a lot of people do not have good examples, role models, or people love to talk about what they know. My dad didn't talk much. He showed. He didn't engage in, and there's so many people that talk about what they know, and they talk about their thing, and they talk about their trauma, and they talk about their pain, and they talk about other people, and they talk about their looping.
Yeah. I could see that.
Right. Yeah. And so it's
me. Yeah, I know. I totally see that. Yeah.
And people just want to be heard. I understand that. And there is a way to do it, but the thing that we have to do more than anything, and this is why my book I was telling you about, is bless your heart, bless all our dang hearts, bless every heart that's ever been hurt and beaten and abused and lied to and sick and injured and lost something, and bless all our hearts. And we have to do the work. We cannot continue to look outside and blame and point the finger and who did it and who done it and you did it and that did it and I know this and you know that. Well, this is what I think and this is what I think. Well, okay, show me. Show me what that looks like. It's confusing. There's a lot of words running around out there. Show me. And even with children, like there was a mom recently, and this goes along with what you were asking, that came to me. She's like, I don't understand why my daughter's so, I don't understand why she's such a terror. And I got a terrible child. What do I do? And I'm like, do you really want to hear what I have to say? And she's like, yes, please. I'm asking you.
Do I have your consent to tell you what I actually see here?
Yeah, and I try to wait for people to ask for advice because I've got a lot to say and I just keep my mouth shut because my daddy, if people aren't asking, I'm not going to give them my advice. But she asked and I said, well, here's the thing I see is you tell her everything to do. But I don't see you doing any of it.
Oh,
ouch. I know.
Oh, that hurt.
Yeah, she cried. I mean, in a good way. She cried. And I was like, you can't just tell her. It doesn't, you got to walk it out with her, be with her, show her, model it. And so the thing with that person back in the 90s, that if they're in that position is nobody's coming to do the work for you. And the work is to take care of yourself, to exercise, to move, to breathe, to look at your, own imbalances and obstacles and shadows. And if you need a coach, get a coach. If you need a therapist, get a therapist. make choices. How are you responding in the moment? Are you working towards your dreams? Or are you just yapping on and on about them? Like, are you actually taking steps? And we have to take steps every day if we actually want to make a dent in matter. If we want to make an impact and expand our reach, we have to actually get in there and grind it out and do the work and take up more space. Like literally gravity, matter, like tangible, like push it into the earth. And a lot of people want to talk about everything they want to do, or they want to blame everything or what they're going to do one day or wish they could do. Or I know this, but they have all the excuses and reasons not. It's like, no, get up and grind it out. Get up and move your body. Get up and, go for that walk. Get up and make that, healthy choice with food. Get up and talk to yourself in a nice way. Talk to other people in a nice way. What are you talking about? Where are you spending your time? So it's like what yoga for me is more than anything, it's best at prevention.
Prevention.
It's great at healing and helping, but where it shines and where it thrives as a technology is prevention.
What are we preventing?
Well, you look at, okay, here's what I did in my past. Here's the result it led to. If I want a different result, I probably should do a different action.
That sounds like cognitive behavioral therapy.
It is. It's very much like that. And yoga is really about, you got to make different choices if you want different results. And the way that you do that is look at what has happened as a consequence of your actions and make that choice, clear the mind so you don't get confused on what's yours and what's not, and then walk towards that choice that is different. And so or make that choice that's going to help your digestion. Go to bed earlier so that you feel excited to get up and move your body.
Stuff my parents told me when I was 10.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's so simple, actually.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, during that darkest time, you went through this dissolution. It's like an alchemical process of separate, purify, and recombine. And I've seen you go, I met you when you were on the up after that, right? But there's this period where I'm curious, like, how did you pick it back up? You say do the work.
Yep.
I see you training and teaching people now. I would imagine there's probably specific examples. You could change the names to protect the guilty, but of get out of your head, stop talking about it and do it.
Yep.
But you did that to yourself.
I did.
So now you have the authority of someone who is an author of your story, which is what your authority is. You've authored your way into a position of actually influencing and helping others. What did you have to do to survive that and to get back on the horse?
Yeah, so good. So the one thing I had to do is get real honest about my own bullshit.
You have that too?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay.
But I had to get real honest on the things that I was out of integrity with. And integrity is just integration. Is it integrated in the words we speak, the actions we take, the movements we make, the thoughts we think? Like, is that all integrated? And if not, we're not in integrity.
I like that definition.
Yeah, that's what it means. And a lot of people think it's a moral thing.
Yeah, that sounds more achievable than like you have some moral failing and you're screwed.
That's right. Right. No, it's like integrate what you say with what you do and how you act. And so I was lost and I knew that I wasn't doing. So the thing that allows us to let go and surrender a control more than anything is knowing that we've done every single thing that we know to do with the resources we have and the tools we have available to us. If we've done that, it's much easier to surrender and let go. But if we know one of the reasons we suffer is crimes against wisdom.
Crimes against wisdom.
Knowing better and not doing better.
Wow.
And I was knowing better and not doing better.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crimes against wisdom.
I know.
Tell me about wisdom. What is wisdom?
Lived experience. You decide based on your experience of something, a full merging with it, your focus, if that's something you desire to continue to link with. And you only know until you link with it, and as we get wiser, I put in quotes, along the path, we might not have to link with something for 10 years, 5 years or whatever. We're like, no. That's wisdom. It's like, I linked with this. It brought me this result. It brought me these kind of things. That's not what I keep choosing to link with or engage with. But it takes lived experience. We got to try things out. We got to try contrast. We try, maybe some hobby or art or, whatever. We try all kinds of different things. And then we start to discern what are the things that actually make me feel more integrated, more aligned, more attuned to, what I'm feeling and what I'm saying and what I'm doing, and all of them are lining up. Like, what are those things? But we don't know until we experiment and we try. So that's when we're kids, we don't have a lot of wisdom because we're just trying it all. Like, figuring it out and talking this way and trying to get away with this thing and trying to do this thing. But as we mature and grow along our path, there comes a point when we're like, that people can do that, but that's just not for me. It doesn't fill me up. It doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't give me energy. It actually drains me. That's wisdom. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this instead.
I like reading from the Bible to my kids at night, and we often focus on Proverbs and the Book of Wisdom.
Oh yes,
and Psalms and those kinds of things. And it strikes me that King Solomon just wanted one thing from God. He asked for wisdom, and he also committed crimes against wisdom. That sounds like that sounds like a book,
right? Crime like that might be, maybe that should be the title of my book.
What is the penalty for committing a crime against wisdom?
Yeah, suffering. I mean, that's what yoga is, a technology to reduce suffering. So it gives all these little signs that may show up, obstacles, warnings. Like, I always see it as like, warning, you are leaving the state of union. Please back up. And it's really, it gives us this kind of roadmap for like this. It's not to punish you, but your patterns and behaviors and, all those things won't go away, but they go dormant. So they're not causing you suffering. They're not causing you disturbance. But if you drift off the path, they'll pop back up. It's a handbook to keep us from prolonged suffering. Does it mean we're never going to have pain? No, of course not. Does it mean we're never going to make a mistake? Of course not. But what it means is that we can reduce the long-term effects and actually be more present and we're not drifting off into some scenario that's causing anxiety and making us feel a certain way. And we're not drowning in the sorrows and regrets of the past. We're really present and we're able to make choices that are in alignment with our values. And we know what our values are because we clear the mind and we pick things that actually mean something to us rather than just somebody told us to. We're actually have sovereignty in our own choices, and we're actively participating in this experience of life by being very clear and focused and discerning and mindful about the choices we're making, because we know that if we make that certain choice in the past, it led to suffering. I'm not going to do that. That's empowering. And so then we start to feel more like an active participant in our life rather than just a victim of circumstance. And that's what it's for, is to help us to reduce suffering, get clear, and experience wholeness in the present moment with everything we're doing. And it's a practice because, and that's why I call myself a living artist, because I don't know what's going to happen until someone shows up or a situation shows up. But fortunately, I have the technology and the information and the learning behind me to bring to that situation. But we can't know what we know until we know differently, right? We only know what we know until we know something different. And we can only do something different if we know something different. So we better get clear so that we can make better choices so that we're not prolonging our suffering.
I am very attracted to that. I want that for everybody. I want to live in a world full of people where that clicks.
Me too.
I love your life's work. I love what you're doing. This is amazing. What's next? I want to kind of get give me a dispatch from the edge of like what's coming for you, what's coming for the community you're building. I know you have a book that's coming out. You've read some amazing poetry at these events at your place. Is that part of the book?
It is.
Tell me about what's next.
Okay, great. No, thank you. So one of the things that people have generously said to me is the way that I teach yoga is unlike anything they've ever heard, and that they want access to that. And so that's where the book is really coming from, is like to make it practical, to make it in very modern, simple, howdy-doody, Southern, bless your heart terms. I'm not trying to say you're bad. I'm just saying, if you want something better, do something different. Let's go, Let's go. I'll hug you and give you a few more babies and then Pick up your big girl panties and let's go. Like we got shit to do, you know? And I want to bring in that playful aspect of it. And so that yoga is not this serious, like I'm above everything and I'm so enlightened. Like that is boring to me. Like, and fine, if people are doing it and they're happy and they're satisfied and fulfilled and wonderful. But for me, I'm rowdy and I like to play and I like that wild side of, you know, what life, you know, it's fun. And so I want to share in that way. And that's what the Bless Your Heart and Do the Work book is about. It has poetry, it has exercises, it has anecdotes, stories, experiences. It's part biography, like part, you know, exercise, teachings. Like it's a little bit of all of it just to kind of introduce the work because I have several books in me. I want to do like a Yoga Sutras Oracle deck because I'm not interested in anybody's opinion about how they think Sanskrit should be interpreted. So if I do it as an oracle deck, it's a game. And I'm like, it's a game. Get over it.
That's funny.
Well, this is what that word means to who? Like,
somebody came up with this at some point. And I'm just as much of a human as they are.
Exactly. And if I'm living it and it makes sense this way, don't tell me how to do it scholarly. I want to do it playful. Right. So the oracle deck will be a great
scholar
way.
Can comment on it 1,000 years from now.
Exactly.
On your deck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I want it to be that playful sort of, you draw a card and you learn something cool. That's like the practical technology. So that's something I want to do. And then with community, that's always that, like I said, that's just part of my just DNA is community. But really hosting very, lots of different events, curated, ceremonial, celebratory, educational, things like that. And that's always been the dream of Elevation Central, is to be this hub of integrative experiences where it's not just ideas and concepts. We're living it out in the conversation we're having right now, in the person we're watching on stage right now, like not someday. And so that's what I really love about that. And then with the Living Arts Yoga Institute, so I've trained teachers for 20 years, certified teachers. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people want to do my training that are like, I don't want to be a yoga teacher and I don't want to do 300 hours. Because they don't want to be a yoga teacher, but they want the technology for their own life. And so.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me just mark that for a minute because that's making me think about when I did music lessons, 40 students a week professionally. And then also, you know, as I've studied martial arts, like I had students that came to me for music lessons that were not trying to be a professional musician, that was their career.
Yes.
They still had access to learn because it improved their life. I don't study martial arts because I ever want to get in a fight. I'd love to avoid that.
Right.
I'm not like going for like a military thing, right? That's not the objective that I have, but it improves my life, the way I live in my body, the way I move. There's confidence. There's all these benefits, and it benefits your family, your community. So it sounds like you're saying that you're opening up a level of high caliber training that would normally not necessarily be, don't let me put words in your mouth. I mean, you won't, but like, I'm not trying to.
No, I want to hear you.
High caliber training that would normally be something like instructor level training. That's something that can actually go to someone who's not trying to be a professional yoga instructor person who runs a studio in a career.
That's right. That's right.
How does that work?
So basically what I'm doing is separating into a program for practitioners. They want to do it for personal development, people that want to do it for their own home life, their own relationships. Maybe they want a promotion at work and they can, you know, say I've done this professional development course, right?
Yeah.
And because it's very integrative. And then the second will be for leaders who just want to increase their understanding of their own responsibility in leadership, in their jobs, in their careers, in their work, in their entrepreneurship, whatever it is, but they are in charge of a group of people in some way, shape, or form. And then the third would be for people who want to teach yoga as a living art, like as a yoga teacher.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the studio teacher, that's fine. There's a lot of those out there that just how to teach poses and shapes in a class. And so I'm just stepping away from that like a little bit and focusing more on the advanced training of like, how do you do it more therapeutically? How do you do it more, you know, relationship based for the person in front of you and not some sort of like standardized, this is how you do this. No, you don't know until that person shows up and tells you what's going on. And then you can. So I want to do it. So it'll be like a personal development, a leadership development, and then a yoga teacher.
But that is a challenge as a teacher to have a dynamic curriculum, right? Because on the one hand, it's got to be dynamic because it's personalized to the student and it's real for them.
Right.
But on the other hand, how do you scale something that's different every time you do it?
Right. And that's the biggest thing, is that what I want to do is more immersive style. Like people come and learn the integration piece, and then traveling and speaking and educating people. Like that's a big part of my passion. But the studio model, and I did that. I did a 200-hour and a 300, which the 200's more standard. How do you teach in a yoga studio? How do you teach groups? How do you sequence a class? How do you cue a pose? What are the nuances of the pose? What's the basic underlying philosophy? Like all of that, like I've done. And I will still incorporate some of that. But my passion is with those people who are really wanting to do more of a small group, more therapeutic approach. And that's just a passion of mine personally. And then the scaling would come from more of my teaching, speaking on stage, the book, speaking like about the book, things like that, traveling, doing more corporate trainings, things like that. Like that's where I want to, but the small, there's nothing to replace the relation, because I actually want to see their life get better.
Yeah.
I want to see it. I want to see it. I want to see it.
That's the vision.
Yeah.
So I have two more questions I want to throw out that could be rabbit holes, but we got time. One of them, if you could vision a world into existence that really is your vision for the world, what does that world look like?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. It is a world where every single person feels safe and valued, and they're free to be themselves. And they're surrounded by love and support, and everyone has clean food and clean water, and everyone gets to do the work of their soul that means something to them, that lights them up, that makes them feel alive, and that they get to do it and help all the people meant to help. And they are able to go through the difficult times of life, knowing that they're okay, and they are surrounded by people that love them, that help see them through. I always say I'm not living in some sort of delusional world where everything's perfect and it's all like spiritual bypassing. No, but my philosophy of everybody went into no bullshit and everybody wins, that's sort of my personal philosophy, is that the everybody wins piece isn't that everything's going to be perfect, but it's that when things do fall apart, that we have people that can hold us through the storm, that can show up and maybe cook a meal, that can maybe help us, get up the stair, whatever it is that we need support in. And that's still winning, where we don't feel abandoned, we don't feel alone, that we can have difficult conversations and still respect one another and maybe choose not to hang out, but we don't need to hurt each other with our words and our thoughts and our ideas and all those things, where people are so settled and regulated in their nervous system that there is no need to talk about anyone else unless you're talking about them in an uplifting and positive way. There's no need to fight, because there's nothing to fight for. We're all here and we all have a right to be here, and we all feel taken care of and supported. And every single person is valued for the unique, beautiful miracle that they are. And a small dream, but
well, that leads right into the next question, which is the biggest question I'm probably going to ask. How do we achieve that?
Bless our hearts. One step at a time, and I think that what I'm most passionate about, and more than anything, it's the no bullshit piece. It's taking personal responsibility, because we could sit and blame. Whose fault is it? Is it the government? Is it the preacher? Is it the mom?
It's the aliens.
It's the aliens. Is it AI?
Aliens.
What
okay,
is
we
it?
settled that part.
Whose fault is it? Or we could say, you know what? Regardless of the outside world, I'm going to get right with me. That's the only thing I can control. That's it. And if I stop giving all my energy and thoughts and attention and ideas to what everybody else is doing wrong, and turn it towards what am I doing that is not in alignment with what I say I want in the world. And if I'm thinking shitty thoughts, I need to get right with that. If I'm eating shitty food, I need to get right with that. If I am, like talking mean, I need to get right with that. Like yoga is a neutral technology. It will make you good at whatever you focus on because it's union with something. It's linking. It is complete absorption with our object of concentration. So if we're concentrating on really negative thoughts and gossiping and all that, so we're going to get great at it. We're going to yoga with it. We're going to unite with it. So we got to be very selective. And that's where the discernment and clearing the mind. So that what are you focusing on? And so that the start for anybody out there is start focusing on what you want. And you got to do practices and things that turn your attention away from what you don't, because it's the neural pathways in our brain. The more we feed it, the bigger they get, the deeper the groove. We have to start feeding a new neural pathway of what it is we want and how we want to feel. And eventually over time, it starts getting momentum. It starts widening. And then this one starts to get a little more narrow, and we keep pushing the energy, and all of a sudden things are flowing in the direction of our desire. And then we deal with the things as they come up, and they're not so overwhelming because we have such a big ravine of like what it is we want that is pulling the weight forward, the energy forward, the ideas, the movements, the thoughts, the people that we're meeting. I mean, it's like but it takes someone, I think, that we all need somebody that we trust that can give us guidance to say, hey, you're leaning to the left. And you're leaning to the right.
Because I'm not going to see my trash the way you would.
Exactly.
But if I don't have someone help me take that trash out, I might not take it out. And now I'm empowering my trash.
Exactly.
Which is like, okay, well, I think I've done that before. I'd like to do it differently. Maybe we could take the trash out and empower the treasure.
Exactly. Yes. Because if we're left, unchecked, we'll always lean towards our imbalance because it's habit, it's routine, we can't see it. We can't see ourselves, like we need someone outside of us that we trust. And I think that's where the mentor model or the coach model or someone that we really, they aren't just talking about what we need to do. We see them as a living example and go to that person and go, show me how you did it.
Yeah.
Show me how you did that. And I think that a lot of people don't get good quality feedback. It's more the shame, blame, guilt, feel bad, whatever. So, but I think there's a lot of people rising into that role of being a really clear mirror for people. And that's why I'm so passionate about lead yourself first and the rest will fall into place. Don't go out there and try to lead everybody else, tell everybody else what to do if your life has got some gaps. Fix that first, because then you're going to inspire people and magnetize them to you because you're actually, you're taking up space. You have more matter, which is more impact. And it's not this ethereal idea of who you need to be. No, let me watch it. That's how children learn. That's how I learned from my father. He didn't talk about it. He just did it.
Those are your earliest memories.
Earliest memories. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, on that note, I propose a toast.
Yes, let's have a
second toast.
Oh my gosh. I love talking to you.
Perfect full circle. And I would love to do this again.
Me too. That's so good. I feel like we could talk for days.
And we will.
You're so good at it.
To transformation.
To transformation. It's so good. I love shooting it. Like
so good.
It's so great. I'm like, I gotta get some of this.
I'm totally gonna make these guys give me a bunch of free bottles.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.